have on our working lives. So, with that, this workshop is about recognizing how lived experience with disability, whether visible or invisible, can shape powerful professional skills. At the same time, I also want to really recognize that disability involves real challenges and can sometimes require the need for accommodations, and that is perfectly fine. The goal today is not to ignore those realities. Instead, we're going to explore how many people also develop valuable capabilities through those experiences and how to communicate those strengths professionally. Couple of quick items is one, closed captioning is available on this call, so feel free to use that in your Zoom bar. And also, I am a huge fan of cameras on. I love talking to and with people as opposed to myself, but of course, that also is up to you entirely, whatever you are most comfortable with. I encourage people to share throughout the course of this workshop, to participate either by raising your hand, coming off of mute, and or utilizing the chat, which Caroline, thank you again for monitoring for us today. All right, let's go ahead and get started. If PowerPoint would participate with me. Yes, excellent. Not so much PowerPoint. All right, here we go. So why we're here today, thank you all for joining again. And we're here to really understand how our lived experiences with disability often builds valuable personal and professional capabilities. And then how to translate those capabilities into language that employers can also understand. We're going to walk out of here better understanding a strength-based career narrative, and we're going to leave with a 30 to 60-second professional power pitch. Everyone ready? That's a lot for 60 minutes, but we're doing it. We're doing it. All right, like I had said a little bit ago, just a couple of important points that I'd like to bring across here. Cameras on is encouraged, but again, totally up to you. Disclosure with disability is a personal choice. I am not advocating for disclosure or not for disclosure. It is completely and totally up to you, and that is completely fine. Some people choose to disclose, some do not. Both choices are valid. I happen to have ADHD, and I'm at the point in my life where this disclosure comes naturally, not for an excuse, but instead for an explanation for how my brain functions and why many normal systems, quote unquote, don't work well for me. And today's workshop will be focusing on building a professional narrative around strengths, which can be used whether or not someone chooses to disclose a disability. And oh, spoiler alert, I love to include this as well. Things that work well for people with disabilities tend to also work really well for people without disabilities. So anyone can really utilize these tools. All right, let's talk a little bit about the dual reality of disability. We're going to go with some participation, right? Audience participation. I love it. I don't like just talking to myself. So put in the chat or raise your hand or come off of mute. What skills do you think someone develops if they spend years navigating systems that were not designed for them? What kind of skills? I mean, it says resilience. Absolutely. That's a great one to put in there. Adaptability. No kidding. Man, that's also an excellent one. Thank you, Dale. Right? Any other skills? Just think about those skills that we might do. Self-advocacy. Yes, absolutely. So these are all examples of the skills that many people with disabilities develop every single day and throughout our lifetimes. So disability also involves a dual reality. There can be barriers and challenges. If one of the challenges is PowerPoint, apparently this morning for me or this afternoon, barriers and challenges that deserve recognition and support. At the same time, navigating those challenges often builds powerful capabilities that translate directly into personal and professional strengths. So challenges could involve, and this is not an exhaustive list. I'm sure many people will look at this and go, well, I've experienced different ones too. And that is all relevant. So systematic barriers, accessibility issues, really not ideal environments, stigma, the need for accommodations, right? These can also end up bringing forth capabilities. Many people with disabilities spend years building strategies just to navigate environments that were not originally designed with us in mind. And over time, those strategies can become capabilities. And those capabilities are often well aligned with skills that employers find really valuable. Now, to be clear, this does not mean that disability is easy or that barriers do not exist. Many people face real challenges and require accommodation. We are exploring how that lived experience can also develop these kinds of capabilities. So things like strategic problem solving, adaptive thinking, we had adaptability in our chat, resilience also cited, systems building. We need to build our own systems that work for us sometimes, both physically and mentally. And creative workarounds. Man, some of the studies that come up with people with disabilities have some of the most incredible creative workarounds to things. One of my favorite examples is the founder of IKEA is dyslexic. Has anyone ever seen what IKEA instructions look like? Do they have many words? No, they have pictures. This came out of a need. So, what do we want to do with this? We want to be able to identify those potential hidden skills from our lived experiences. Think about the adaptive strategies that perhaps we've put into place, and then we can word those into professional skills. So what does that look and feel like? We're going to talk a little bit about that now. All right. So for our lived experiences, we could have something like a mobility disability. What adaptive strategies has that person potentially used? Environmental navigation, figuring out creative ways to get around in an environment, additional tools. Well, that could pretty easily translate into great logistical planning, a key skill in a number of professions. Chronic illness, we have to think about how we plan for our energy, which then can be translated into strategic prioritization. A learning disability, visual learning strategies, which can translate into creative problem solving. Let's think about that IKEA example and those instructions on on the IKEA furniture being mostly, if not completely, visuals. Right? That was a creative solution to a problem that someone had with the environment that they were in. Long list of instructions, lots of words, really not doing anyone any help. And guess what? Yes, IKEA, it can be a little bit frustrating to put some of that furniture together, but it makes it pretty straightforward for anyone to be able to understand how to do it. That's powerful. So thinking about our lived experiences, those adaptive strategies that we've put into place, and then getting thoughtful about how we word those adaptive strategies, because those are skills, personal and professional. What we're gonna think about now as a group, taking a few minutes, is thinking about those things. So when we talk about the lived experience, what obstacle or obstacles have you faced? Pick one. When you face that obstacle, what strategies did you develop to help you through that or get to the next step? And then we can think about what professional level skill that reflects. So I'm going to pause here because I would like everyone to take the next 2 minutes to think about and answer these questions about your own experiences. Pull out a piece of paper, a pen, pull up your notepad on your computer or on your phone, pull out a voice note, whatever works for you. But jot that down. Use one example. And then I would love in about 2 minutes from now for folks to share if they feel comfortable doing so. Because I have found in my own personal experience that sharing helps others find things that they may have never thought of before and try something new. So I'm going to pause here. I'm going to use my handy dandy timer. You don't even want to know how many timers and how many different types of timers I have. Helpful tip, timers are amazing. And I'm going to set our timer for 2 minutes. And I'd like for everyone, if I can set it for 2 minutes. I'm setting my timer for 2 minutes and 25 seconds because it wasn't being nice to me. Yes, Caroline, I love timers so much. I've got lots of different kinds, and if someone wants to have that conversation, oh, I can have that conversation too. But yeah, so our timer is set for those 2 minutes. Please, let's take those 2 minutes and reflect a little bit. We will build on this. Got about 1 minute left to go. We'll give it another 15 seconds or so, but if someone wants to start throwing into the chat or raising a hand, we're going to get that lined up so that we can share with the rest of the group. If you're comfortable sharing this with the group. And there's the timer. All right. I think we have a share. Did you want to come off of mute to share?
Are you talking to me?
Whoever would like to go first,
Oh.
I am totally good with.
Sure, I'll go. I'm Monica, and one of my obstacles is memory loss. And so one of the strategies I adapted was to take photos of things with my phone, like not remembering where my car is in the parking lot. And so I would take I would park next to the cart. I would always park next to the carts. So I always knew in a huge parking lot to just look where the cart returns are. And then I would take a picture of something that made also like identify so it was easier for me to find. But anyway, I thought that a professional skill might be problem solving or creative thinking. I don't know. That was just what came to mind.
Absolutely. You are helping to support yourself with a tactic that works really, really well. That picture is going to really help. Honestly, I do the same exact thing when parking in a parking garage or whatnot because I struggle really badly personally with short-term memory. That's one of my lovely ADHD traits that I have, right? And so that's one really cool. And I love the use of technology in that as well, right? You're utilizing that phone that you have all the time. You can always go back to it. as well as some strategies around planning and where you park to make that easier on yourself. Absolutely translatable into those professional skills. Monica, thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm sure you're going to have people who on this call heard this and are going, I'm totally going to take a picture the next time I park somewhere. So thank you.
Hmm.
I think I see Ro having a hand raised.
Thank you. So I have part one and part two, but I'm having difficulty articulating the professional skills. So maybe
Sure.
my lived experience um was discrimination, toxic leadership,
Mm.
lost job, adaptive strategy. I built an ERG.
Professional skill, recognizing challenges that you and others face and being able to address them head on with building something new or building something that will outlast you. Those ERGs, that's incredible. You're helping to educate the people around you so that not only will people potentially with a disability or with a challenge or something understand and feel more accepted, but you're also helping to educate those around and creating advocacy. Ro, that's huge.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, I've got VIP student program.
Hi. So just so you know, I'm going to turn you around real quick because I have a class of 12 right now that's on this.
Fantastic.
Just so you know, there's 12, actually 13 with my other staff, but you guys want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. This is awesome.
But the camera unfortunately is facing this way and I can't see the chat and everything if the camera is at them. So we had a group discussion. So this program is focused on transition from high school into the real world. And they're working on vocational and soft skill development. So pretty much everything you're talking about. One of the moms of one of my students actually sent the link over to me for us to attend. So we kind of rearranged our days so that we could be here. So they came up with for obstacles that they're currently facing in their program, staying focused, problem solving, personal boundaries, communication, accepting feedback professionally, work ethic, responsibility, following directions, respect, interacting with others, stopping and thinking before making choices, leadership, and eye contact.
First of all, can I pause you before you go to the next part and
Yeah.
commend all of you for being so introspective that you can think about these things and put that out there. And thank you for sharing that. A lot of us think about these things all the time. You are not alone. So I just wanted to pause and recognize the level of maturity that comes with that and the introspection. Well done.
That's to you guys, not me.
Very well.
So for we didn't actually get to the strategies because it was only the 2 minutes, but first they all have had unique strategies for each person that staff is helping them create. So we have the teacher, which is me of the program, and then two other staff. So we've been working all school year long on different strategies that are appropriate for the workplace. And they're actually working on their resume development right now. So we're going to start working on the skills section in about a week or two. So we haven't gotten that quite far, but hopefully they'll maybe get some ideas from the power pitch.
Great timing then. This is fantastic. And sort of think about that even before you have to write that down on a resume is so helpful. So, yes. And thank you for having us today. Thank you for making the time for this session. This is fantastic. And where are you joining us from, if you don't mind me asking?
We're in Pennsylvania. I think this
Excellent.
is South Carolina or Charlotte, South Carolina. I don't even know.
We're Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, that's
North
where I'm
I
joining you
tried.
from.
It was one of the
no,
Carolinas.
it's so
One of the
close. We are right
Carolinas.
on the border. It's like literally the border. So,
Okay.
all good. Well, thank you so much for sharing and keep it up. Keep up the sharing because again, like we want to think about the strategies that we use and someone may share something that one of us may have never thought of before. And you may try it and it might work, and you may try it and it might not work. Either is okay. We learn with all of it. Um, Amit wrote in here that Dealing with a chronic illness, yep, which made me research alternative opportunities to be proactive with asking questions, which I think reflects, yes, problem solving and advocacy, 100%. That drives a lot of us to that. My child was diagnosed with ADHD. I was diagnosed with ADHD several years later, and my research is centered around it, right? We find things that we really feel incredibly passionate about and can get very involved with and help to educate ourselves and others and for the betterment of the world. So thank you for doing that. But yes, problem solving, advocacy, huge. Anyone else before I hop to the next section here? All right, great job. And by the way, I'm happy to share more of this. And I think Caroline said that we are recording. So if we want to come back to this or think about the framework, absolutely something that we can do after the fact too. So now that we've thought about the lived experiences, what sort of strategies we've used, and kind of what skills that translates to, the next part that we're going to be looking at is translating that experience and thinking about those skills into professional language. So our VIP student program is going to be writing resumes in a week or two, and language matters on resumes. Language matters in interviews, right? And so the better we can help to translate what that's looking and feeling like into a language that is sort of employer friendly, it's the easier things are going to be on both sides of the desk. Employers tend to think of in terms of skills, outcomes, and impact. So the key is translating personal experiences into professional language. So I gave a couple of examples here, right? I have ADHD, so I use a lot of reminders. I might say that in sort of in a less formal environment. Now we can think about that by I've implemented digital task management systems to coordinate multiple projects and meet deadlines. What does that mean? What does that translate to? Yes, I know that employer speak can be a completely different language, so let's just acknowledge that altogether. But utilizing tools, digital tools in this case, to actually put systems into place that help me to coordinate multiple projects, meet deadlines. This is what I've done. So prior to being an instructor with the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, prior to starting my doctorate, I spent almost 20 years in industry, and most recently left about a year and a half ago to pursue this full time. And at the time that I left, I was a senior director of product management. So I built teams and systems and programs and platforms, most of the time not even knowing that I had ADHD, but building things in order to help to make my day, my life, other people's days easier at the end of the day. So another example of this could be I struggle with organization, so I built systems. Well, something a little more specific, design structured task management systems to manage multiple priorities, right? We're using kind of that key language that employers may pick up on in a better way. Honestly, I can even say, I leave my laundry basket outside of my laundry room so that when I am doing laundry, I don't forget it's in there, because every time I have to walk from my home office to my kitchen, I pass a laundry basket. Then I know it's in there. Well, I just designed a system, sometimes without even realizing that's what I'm doing, in order to help me remember things. My short-term memory, not so great. I also utilize timers and lists, right? But putting those things into place and talking about them in a way that helps employers understand the value that your creative mind, your mind that works in a slightly different way, or your body that works in a slightly different way functions, is really, really helpful to be able to translate that into professional skill framing. You're welcome, Ro. Yeah, same thing. My laundry basket trick. I love that. All right, so thinking about what we just thought about, right? We're thinking about what we do, we think about our challenges, what we do to face those challenges, and now thinking about the language we want to use in order to make that sort of employer friendly. And that brings us to putting it all together. a power pitch, or what I'm calling a power pitch. So in this case, a power pitch is a short professional narrative that explains how your unique perspective contributes value to a team or an organization. So for me, so let's go through the framework and then I will give you an example of how I would utilize this. We're going to take a look at it from the view of your unique perspective, the strengths that you bring, and the contribution that that makes to a team or an organization. So another way we can think about this is one of the things that shaped how I approach work is, or I tend to approach in this way, right? Dot, dot, dot. Because of that, I developed strengths in yada, yada, yada. And those strengths help me to contribute by XYZ. All right, what does that look and feel like as an example? I tend to approach problems a little, excuse me. Always keeping a glass of water nearby, also important. Yes, Rose got one too. All right, I tend to approach problems a little differently, which has helped me develop strong pattern recognition and creative problem skills, creative problem solving skills. I probably also have some creative problem skills too, but we'll put that aside for now. Creative problem solving skills. I enjoy identifying connections others might miss. My superpower is connection, connecting people, connecting problems to solutions, and more. And using that perspective to generate new ideas and solutions. So I'll say that one more time without some of my sprinkled in. I tend to approach problems a little differently, which has helped me develop strong pattern recognition skills and creative problem solving skills. I love spotting connections others might miss and using that perspective to generate new ideas and solutions. That's the opener. That's the power pitch. That's what makes someone go, huh, well, tell me about how you did that. How did you generate new ideas and solutions? And then I can talk about my experiences that support that. Questions. Because we're going to put some time on the timer and everyone's going to try this. All right. Seemed like 2 minutes was a little light and I really want to make this work. So we are going to put time on the timer for 5 minutes. Really think about each item in here. Think about what has shaped you and then frame it in the way that helps you to share how your strengths help you to contribute. Okay? And as Caroline just popped in the chat as well, please feel free to put any questions and comments in the chat as they pop up. If you have a question and you want to raise your hand during this time, that is completely fine too. This time is for you. This time is for us. It's really meant to be a working session. So I'm going to put 5 minutes on the timer. It's blurring it out. 5 minutes. And we're going to go ahead and get started. If music helps you, feel free to play it in the background in your own area. If not, that's okay too. We'll keep it silent on here so each person can do what works best for them. Just as a quick heads up, we're about 2.5 minutes into our 5 minutes, so we're about halfway through, but take your time. And again, this is an exercise we can continue on. All right, about 30 seconds left, so thinking it through. And just a quick check-in, because we have a little bit of time to play with. Is everyone feeling like this has been enough time, or you'd like a little bit more time? Toss it in the chat, because if you need a little bit more time, I'm happy to extend it. I know our VIP student program was still working on the first part too.
I'm seeing a little more time in the chat.
Awesome. Well, these things are really flexible. I'm just gonna up the time on this. Shh. All right, we'll give it another, let's say another 3 minutes here. See where we're at there. By the way, quick tip for my own personal time blindness is predicting how much time something will take and then timing it and then seeing how far off you were. So this is a bit of an experiment in that as well. I'm a little more well versed in this, so I think it will take a little bit less time, but of course, that's never the case, and that is completely fine as well. So thank you for your feedback in a little bit more time.
We have a question in chat asking for an example again for contribution.
All right. So my example of that was I enjoy identifying connections others might miss and using that perspective to generate new ideas and solutions. So the contribution part of that is the using that perspective to generate new ideas and solutions. So I can contribute to your organization, new ideas and solutions, and then I could get into more detail about what that entails, right? So my strength is identifying connections that others might miss. These strengths help me contribute by generating new ideas and solutions. I just kind of had it worded a little bit differently. So great question. And that's how that fits in. Let me know if you need any additional detail on that. All right, that is time. How is everyone feeling about that? Do we need another few minutes, or are you feeling like you've had the opportunity to put some words on paper that you're feeling pretty good about? Or feeling okay about? This is our first time doing this, folks. So that's okay, and this is meant to be refined. Nothing is ever perfect, especially the first time around, but seriously, nothing's ever perfect. All right, would anyone like to share their pitch? Either in the chat or if you want to raise your hand. My VIP student program. Fantastic. Let's go.
Hello again. So we just narrowed down to one because they came up with so many. So their power pitch was, one of the things that shaped how I approach work is my desire to help people. Because of that, I developed strengths in customer service. Those strengths help me contribute by offering to help customers/visitors when needed.
That's brilliant. And as a previous employer, I love that type of a thing. Customer service is a common thread throughout so many industries, jobs, what have you, right? Everyone has a customer. So that is a fantastic one to hone in on. And then individually, if you're talking to someone in an interview, you can expand on the experiences that you have that support that statement, right? So excellent. Thank you so much for sharing. And actually, if you all are open to it, I would love to see even more of what you've put together. And so if you want to send that over, that'd be amazing too. I'll put my information in the chat.
I was gonna say, so we have another two different programs that are also like this. I wish I would have sent them the link beforehand, but I had no idea what this was gonna look like. And I didn't want all of us to participate and then be like, oh, that wasn't relevant to what we needed.
Totally
But
get it.
is this being recorded?
It is.
Would we be able to get the recording so that I can share it with them and they can do the activity without it being presented to them, but they can do
Yeah.
the activity then?
Yeah, so I plan on putting this on our YouTube page after this, and so
Oh,
you
okay.
can watch through it again and again.
Okay, perfect.
Fabulous. All right. Would anyone else like to share your power pitch?
I'll give it a shot, but I don't know if I did it right.
That's awesome. And you
I,
know what? Courage, right? Willingness to try. Monica,
yeah.
already huge skills. Let's go.
Okay. My drive to apply qualitative and quantitative research to solve real world problems or current community needs has helped me develop strengths in analytical thinking and community outreach and data analysis. And those strengths help me to contribute to find ways to help make a company more efficient or productive. I don't know.
That is sounding great. You've got the things, how you approach the work, the strengths that you have in that approach, and then how you contribute to it. That would be very interesting to a potential client, an employer, whoever, right? So, and these are meant to be a first shot. And so, thank you for having the courage to share it. You can play with it, make it sound or feel as much you as you need it to be. These are meant to be kind of fluid also. One of the reasons is because we change in our strengths. We get stronger in some things. Maybe we don't want to do something nearly as much, right? And our contributions grow over time. And so it's meant to be a living, breathing kind of a thing for you. So this seems like a fantastic first go round with that. Well done, Monica. Thank you. And thank you for sharing. Ro, what
I
about
was gonna
you?
say thank you, Monica, for going first. Now I have the courage to follow. Okay, so again, I don't know if I did it right, but this is what I got. Um, I excel at spotting potholes in systemic processes where an employee isn't able to fully actualize their performance potential. This has enabled me to work with employees and leadership to develop solutions that create an environment of systemic success.
Environment of systemic success. As someone who has hired people in the past, man, that's exactly what you want as an employer, as a company. 100%. And then you have to back it up the why. And you can talk about the details afterwards, right? That's what this structure is all about. Thank you so much for sharing that, Ro. Man, we've got some really amazing people on this call. This is awesome.
Mnet put one in chat that's looking great.
All right, Emnet, I'm going to read that out loud. I love the sharing of this. So, one of the things that shaped how I approach work is creating multiple solutions to a problem and determining the pros and cons of each. As a result, I developed strengths in research and solution design, which helped me contribute by providing new alternative approaches to problems. Absolutely. Right? Creativity. We're looking for new and innovative and novel approaches to various different things. And sometimes your first approach doesn't always work. And so you need to have the ability to do multiple approaches. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Emmett. Really appreciate it. Anyone else have anyone that they'd like to share? And I'm going to thank you all again for sharing because these give fantastic ideas, language ideas. They give ideas for how we can shape how we're pitching to people and also give ideas around things that maybe we wouldn't have thought of as a strength. And then we hear someone talk about it as a strength and we're like, oh, maybe that is a strength. I'd have that too. So love how, the rising tide lifts all boats. All right. Well, if you would like to share your pitch in the chat or by raising your hand in a little bit, we can do that. The next part of what I want to share is why this is pertinent, right? And what employers are looking for. No, I'm not going to make you read everything on this tiny itty bitty little bit chart. Look, I blew it up. Okay. Because what we want to do is we want to take a look. Here, what I'm sharing with you are the core skills in 2020-30. They're core now and they're expected to increase in importance as per the World Economic Forum. Okay, let's take a look at some of these. Some of the ones that are highlighted are curiosity and lifelong learning, systems thinking, creative thinking, resiliency and agility, motivation and self-awareness, empathy and active listening. Anyone see anything on here that resonates with you? And perhaps may have even come out of adversity? Out of curiosity, anyone see anything that resonates? You're going, yeah,
Empathy, active listening. Yeah.
absolutely. These are key,
Mhm.
especially today and in the future of work. Anyone else? Well, like thumbs up if you see at least one thing on here that you're like, oh, no, that's a strength of mine. I see that. And this is not Jen just, pulling out of thin air. Yeah, empathy and active listening is a good idea. This is a World Economic Forum publishing, right? That has backing from many, many, many employers. Okay. So I just want everyone to think for a minute about some of these core skills. Yes, empathy and flexibility, right? Think about some of these core skills. Here are some ways of wording that. Think about what you've experienced in your life and then how to position that. That's what this is all about. Positioning yourself in a way that helps an employer or a potential future client or whomever that is that you maybe want to do work for understand how you are a phenomenal fit. And I would just like to highlight, because I do believe we have some employers on the phone, which I'm very excited about, that an inclusive workplace is hugely important, but don't take my word for it. It's in the literature. Talent comes in many forms. And when organizations focus on strengths and create inclusive environments, they unlock innovation and capabilities that might otherwise be overlooked. Research consistently shows diverse teams outperform homogeneous ones to the tune of twice as likely to meet or exceed financial targets, 3 times as likely to be high performing, 6 times as likely to be agile and innovative, and 8 times as likely to achieve better business outcomes. This is for you, employers. And I'm really curious, right? For anyone on this call who is an employer, if you want to come off of mute or throw in the chat there, your experience with both the core skills that I shared a little while ago or just a minute ago from the study from the World Economic Forum, and or the outcomes of ensuring that we have inclusive cultures in the workplace and thinking about disability through a different lens, through a differently lived lens. So if anyone wants to come off of mute or throw something in the chat, I'll just give it a minute here. Does this surprise anyone? Not surprising, yes. And re-emphasizing it. There have been studies on this. So Dale says, no, you get the best out of people when they're comfortable being themselves, 100%. Environments of what's known as team psychological safety, where people feel safe to speak up, are critically important. And in a Google study called Google Project Aristotle, it was found to be the #1 most important factor for high-performing teams. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Well, on that note, as we wrap up today, I want to return to the idea that we started with. Many of us spend years navigating systems that were not originally designed for us in mind. That experience can involve real and serious challenges. It can require accommodations. And sometimes it just requires a tremendous amount of effort just to move through spaces that others may take for granted. But along the way, something else often happens. We develop strategies. We build systems. We learn how to solve problems creatively, adapt quickly, and see possibilities that others might overlook. They're not just coping mechanisms. These are capabilities. These are skills. For those of you who identify with having a disability, my hope is that today helped you see some of those capabilities more clearly and perhaps gave you the language to communicate them with confidence if and when you choose to do so. And for the employers and leaders joining us today, I hope that this conversation invites you to look a little bit differently at talent. Because when organizations create environments where people feel safe, bringing their full professional perspectives and experiences to this table, we unlock insight, creativity, and innovation that simply would not exist otherwise. Talent doesn't come in one standard format. Perspective matters. And sometimes the people who have to navigate the most complex environments are the ones who develop the most powerful ways of thinking. When we learn to recognize and communicate those strengths, everyone benefits. So, what will all of you put into practice in the next 24 hours? Throw it in the chat. Raise your hand. What resonated with you most today?
Hi, this is Dale. I would like to, just commend you on this program. I think the focus on strengths and really leaning into your strengths is key. You can build off of that and, have your greatest success. And then of course work on other things in the meantime, but your strengths should be your anchor.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Dale. And that's so true, right? To recognize the incredible power in the strengths that we have. And sometimes that means doubling down on those strengths. One of my most favorite mentors, one time, he completely blew my mind when he said to me, "You don't need to be good at everything." I grew up thinking I needed to be good at everything, right? If I wasn't good at something, it was considered an opportunity and you were supposed to do something about it. It was revolutionary to my way of thinking to actually be told that I did not need to be good at everything. And it may be a more valuable use of my time to double down on my strengths and get even better at those. So I think that recognition of strengths and making sure that we're talking about those is really, really important here. Dale, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. We've got in here bringing more value to a job than once thought. Absolutely. And that's what makes these exercises so powerful is that reflection. We don't take a lot of time as humans to sit there and reflect and go, okay, this is the really good thing. Especially in the American culture, we're taught to move on to the next thing, learn from your mistake and move on, right? But what about those things that we need to reflect on in terms of strengths and celebrate the successes, right? And it hopes to find more professional skills that they may possess. Being able to see my own strengths from having been on this difficult journey. You have earned those strengths, folks. You've earned them. And it's important that we can recognize that too. Our VIP program felt that it focused on soft skills and how to market ourselves to future employers. Yes, and how to use your disability as a strength to market yourself. Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. And if you haven't already shared, you don't have to share, but just really think about at least one thing that you are going to put into practice or try doing or expand on in the next 24 hours. You have the opportunity to put a routine into practice now. Even if that means making a little bit of time and thinking about it for yourself and jotting it down. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing and for making the time. Oh, I love that. Our VIP student program will be coming up with their own power pitches this week. That's amazing. I love that. Oh my gosh. Can you all? I'm going to put my email address in the chat if Caroline hasn't already done so, but I know that my LinkedIn profile is in there. Please feel free to connect with me. I'll also put my email address in there. So that we can learn more about this and what a fantastic program you're all a part of in that VIP program. And thank you for being a part of this today. So feedback is a gift, and I would appreciate yours. What worked? What resonated? What maybe didn't, if that was the case. But you can either scan this code or I put into the chat my own personal feedback form. I use it to learn and grow. So I really appreciate anything you have to put in there. Thank you so much, Alexis, as well. I really, really love that. And yes, let me put my email in the chat as well.
I gotcha.
Oh, thank you so much, Caroline. I appreciate it. Any additional questions? I'm gonna stop our share here so we can just, there we go. So any other questions? What questions do you have, or what revelation did you have that you're feeling really great about? Or maybe not.
This isn't really directly related to the power pitch, but I've been really kind of, not to take all the time, but I was in an auto accident that caused a TBI 9 years ago. So I've had to work for all these years to just get to a point where I could be employable again. And I don't, when you're applying to work, when you're putting it in your cover letter, I mean, that's something that you just say out up front. I don't know when to bring that up. Do you bring it up? Because it's an invisible one. And,
Right.
I don't know how to work that in, if I should work it in, if I should just give it a shot and see if they notice. I mean, I don't know how to do this. I don't.
First and foremost, I would say that it is 100% up to you. Second, I would say I know how unhelpful that statement is. We all want the silver bullet, the gold, the pill that's gonna make everything better, or the one, here's how to do it, but there's no one direct way of doing it. I also want to get Caroline's perspective on this because Caroline is our disability outreach coordinator at University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and she has a lot of experience in the professional space here. My 2 cents would be, depending on if you need an accommodation during the interview process versus after the interview process or anything along those lines, may dictate if and when you would like to disclose. Caroline, I would love to pull you into this conversation.
Yeah. So what I tend to tell my students is when you're about to apply for a company, do your research. Do they have an ERG? Do they have a BRG? Do have they talked about disability in the past? You kind of have to like gauge ahead of time whether the company is going to be a little bit more accepting or not. I know that's scary. But it is something you kind of have to do when you're researching the job itself. Also, don't hesitate to reach out to like a recruiter or someone in human resources just to not even to apply, but just to ask questions about the company, learn about the company culture, and that'll help you figure out whether or not this is going to be a place that works for you and will be more accommodating, or maybe it's not a great team and maybe you want to find someone else, somewhere else to apply.
Yeah, I think that last point, Caroline, is especially important because the whole purpose of a job search and interviews is it is a two-way street. We are all the purpose of it is to find the right match, right? The match between the person who is looking for employment and the employer. And so therefore, if you're getting all sorts of red flags around this may not be the right environment, trust your gut on that is my 2 cents, right? Um, and again, the best employment matches are when it is literally that a match. I feel like some of my early career mentees look at me funny when I say that because a lot of people I think have been trained to go into interviews to pitch themselves in the best light possible with forgetting about asking the questions during the interview to make sure that that's going to be the right environment for you as well. It is best for everyone for that. Yeah. And
You're
Monica,
not,
oh, go ahead,
sorry,
Caroline. Sorry.
you're not only being interviewed, you're interviewing the people interviewing you.
Yes. Yes, 100%, 100%. And you will find the right fit. That is really, really important. And thank you again for sharing about yourself too. For me, no, I don't typically walk into rooms and be like, I have ADHD, but I've also given a TEDx talk on it and said it out loud. So I don't necessarily lead with it, but it's not something I keep hidden about myself. That is a personal choice. It is one partially that I have made because I have gotten more confident in it. Again, personal choice.
Mhm.
So that's my 2 cents about how I handle it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. Caroline and the Office of Disability Outreach at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, thank you so much for having me. I adore working with y'all. You know that. And thank you all so much for making the time today. I hope that this has been a valuable use of your time. And I look forward to the feedback from you. And my information is in the chat if you'd like to reach out. Thank you again.